The 1940s brought the world incredible innovation, but the car industry wasn't immune to some epic missteps. Whether it was odd designs, poor performance, or mechanical failures, many cars from this decade left a lot to be desired. Here are the 15 dumbest and worst cars of the 1940s that history would rather forget. The Cadillac El Dorado Brougham, a symbol of excess and extravagance, remains one of the most unforgettable automobiles ever crafted. Introduced in 1957 as the pinnacle of luxury, the El Dorado Brougham was a statement, a rolling embodiment of American post-war confidence and prosperity. Yet despite its impressive list of features and its undeniable presence, the car's sheer size and flamboyant design made it more of a spectacle than a practical vehicle. For all its luxury, it felt more like a land yacht than something suited for the everyday commute. To call the El Dorado Brougham big is an understatement. This vehicle was a behemoth. Stretching over 18 feet in length and weighing in at nearly 3 tons, the car was not built for the timid driver. Its massive proportions gave it an unmistakable road presence, but they also made it a nightmare to maneuver through city streets or into parking spaces. Driving the Brougham was less about agility and more about gracefully commanding a piece of road-borne real estate. Tight corners? Forget it. The El Dorado was built to glide down wide-open highways, not weave through congested urban areas. One of the El Dorado Brougham's most striking features was its styling, a decadent celebration of 1950s design that dripped with chrome and ornamentation. The tail fins soared skyward, a hallmark of Cadillac's exuberant design language of the time. Its roofline, with its brushed stainless steel top, gave it a distinctive, almost spaceship-like appearance. Inside, the car was no less opulent. The cabin was a cocoon of plush leather, gleaming metal accents, and state-of-the-art amenities, including power everything, from seats to windows to the trunk lid. There was even a built-in perfume atomizer, a detail that perfectly encapsulated the car's emphasis on luxury over practicality. But for all its luxury, the El Dorado Brougham was more of a status symbol than a practical automobile. The sheer weight of the vehicle contributed to its sluggish performance. Its 6.0-liter V8 engine, while powerful on paper, struggled to propel the car with any real sense of urgency. Handling was equally cumbersome. The car's long wheelbase and heavy frame made it difficult to navigate on anything other than straight roads. If you were looking for a nimble, responsive driving experience, the Brougham was not the car for you. It was built for cruising in style, not zipping around town. Then there was the cost. At nearly $13,000 in 1957, the El Dorado Brougham was one of the most expensive cars ever sold at the time, costing more than many homes. It was a car for the elite, designed to cater to those who wanted to flaunt their wealth in the most ostentatious way possible. Yet, despite its sky-high price tag, the car's impracticality meant that it was never a huge commercial success. Only 704 units were ever produced, making it as rare as it was extravagant. While the El Dorado Brougham was undoubtedly a technological marvel, packed with innovations like air suspension and memory seats, these features also made it prone to mechanical issues. The air suspension, in particular, was notorious for its unreliability, requiring constant maintenance. Owning an El Dorado Brougham wasn't just a financial investment, it was a commitment to a lifestyle of constant upkeep. Today, the El Dorado Brougham is remembered less for its driving prowess and more for its role as a cultural artifact. It symbolizes an era of American excess, when bigger meant better, and luxury meant loading a car with as many features and as much chrome as possible. The car's design, though over the top by modern standards, is a fascinating snapshot of 1950s America, a time when the automotive industry was driven by the ethos of more is more. For collectors and enthusiasts, the Cadillac El Dorado Brougham remains a coveted piece of history. Its rarity, combined with its status as a symbol of mid-century luxury, ensures its place in the pantheon of classic cars. But for all its allure, it's hard to escape the conclusion that the El Dorado Brougham was a car designed for show, not for practical use. It was too big, too heavy, and too expensive to ever find a broad audience. In the end, the Cadillac El Dorado Brougham is a reminder of a time when cars were more than just modes of transportation. They were statements of wealth, power, and style. It is a car that tells the story of an era where practicality took a back seat to luxury, and where driving a land yacht was the ultimate expression of personal success. The Bond Minicar, introduced in the post-World War II era, was a quirky and economical attempt to provide affordable transportation to a market recovering from wartime austerity. Designed to be a simple, lightweight, and cost-effective vehicle, the Minicar, with its three-wheel configuration, catered to a very specific niche: people who needed a car but couldn't afford a traditional four-wheeled model. Despite its noble intentions, the Bond Minicar's unusual design and questionable performance prevented it from gaining widespread acceptance, making it more of a novelty than a serious contender in the automotive world. At first glance, the Bond Minicar seemed like a promising solution to a challenging problem. With post-war shortages and financial constraints limiting access to full-size cars, microcars like the Minicar offered a low-cost alternative. The car's three-wheel design meant it was classified as a motorcycle in some regions, which allowed it to bypass certain taxes and regulations, further adding to its affordability appeal. This frugality extended to its construction as well. The Minicar's body was made of aluminum, a material that was both lightweight and readily available from wartime surplus, contributing to its low weight and simplicity. However, the Minicar's minimalism came at a cost, specifically in terms of performance and stability. Its three-wheel configuration, with one wheel at the front for steering and two at the rear, made it inherently unstable, especially at higher speeds. While fine for puttering around town or navigating narrow country roads, the Minicar struggled on faster, more open roads where its handling became precarious. Any sharp turn or sudden movement at speed could send the vehicle tipping dangerously, making it a white-knuckle experience for the driver. In addition to its instability, the Bond Minicar was underpowered. Powered by a small engine, often no larger than 200 cubic centimeters, the car's top speed was barely adequate for even the slowest traffic conditions. While its fuel efficiency was a selling point, particularly in an era of economic recovery, its sluggish acceleration and lack of power made it impractical for anything beyond short local trips. Trying to merge onto a faster road or climb a hill in the Minicar was an exercise in patience, with the car often straining to keep pace with even the most modest demands. Its quirky design didn't help matters. The Bond Minicar looked more like a toy than a serious vehicle, with its small, boxy frame perched precariously on its three wheels. Inside, the car was equally Spartan, with minimal comforts or amenities. Its simplicity may have appealed to the most budget-conscious buyers, but for many, it felt like a compromise too far. While some appreciated the Minicar for its utilitarian charm and efficiency, most consumers wanted a vehicle that combined affordability with at least some measure of performance and style, two things the Minicar sorely lacked. Despite its limitations, the Bond Minicar did find a small, dedicated audience, especially among those who needed cheap, basic transportation and were willing to overlook its shortcomings. In rural areas, or for those who drove at low speeds, the Minicar's practicality and economy were enough to justify its quirky nature. However, for the wider automotive market, it was a tough sell. As the 1950s progressed and more affordable, full-size cars became available, the Bond Minicar's appeal dwindled. In the broader history of automotive design, the Bond Minicar holds an interesting place as a relic of a unique time. Its design reflected the constraints and innovations of a post-war era where resourcefulness was key, but it also highlighted the limitations of pushing affordability at the expense of performance and safety. Today, the Bond Minicar is often viewed more as a curiosity, a strange experiment in minimalism that couldn't quite make the leap from novelty to mainstream acceptance. Looking back, it's easy to see why the Bond Minicar struggled to compete. While it may have provided an economical option for those with few alternatives, its instability, underwhelming performance, and oddball appearance relegated it to the margins of automotive history. It serves as a reminder that sometimes cutting corners to achieve affordability can result in a product that simply doesn't meet the needs of the market, no matter how quirky or innovative it may be. The Morris Minor Traveler, with its wooden frame panels and quaint design, was a car that seemed to belong to a bygone era. Released in the late 1940s and continuing into the 1960s, it evoked a nostalgic image of pre-war motoring. On the surface, the Traveler had a charm all its own, especially with its station wagon configuration and cottage-like wooden trim. But underneath, it was plagued by numerous issues that made it less than ideal for the long haul. While the car's vintage appeal endeared it to some, its underpowered engine and tendency for the wood to rot meant that it often fell short as a practical choice for modern drivers, even in its heyday. The Morris Minor Traveler's wooden panels were both its most distinctive feature and its biggest flaw. They gave the car an old-world, almost artisanal appearance, a nod to an era where craftsmanship meant something different, perhaps more handcrafted than the modern world of mass production. The car's timber framing wasn't just decorative either. It was an integral part of the structure. While this gave the Traveler a unique aesthetic, it also meant that the wood required constant maintenance. Exposed to the elements, the wooden framework was prone to rot and decay, especially in damp climates. If not treated and cared for regularly, the car's very framework could deteriorate, leading to structural issues that were expensive and time-consuming to repair. This wooden construction also made the Traveler feel like a relic, even during the 1950s and 60s when it was most popular. While other car manufacturers were embracing new materials and sleeker, more futuristic designs, the Traveler clung to its rustic appearance. For some, this throwback style was charming, an homage to the past. For others, it felt woefully outdated in a world that was moving forward with innovations in automotive engineering and design. Performance-wise, the Traveler wasn't winning any races either. Its engine was underpowered, offering a modest output that struggled to keep up with the demands of modern driving. The car's acceleration was slow, and its top speed left much to be desired. While this might have been acceptable for a small family car in rural areas or for running local errands, the Traveler's performance was inadequate for long-distance driving or for those who needed to navigate faster highways. It may have been reliable in the sense that it kept chugging along, but it didn't offer much in the way of driving excitement or power. Drivers had to make peace with its leisurely pace. On the road, the Traveler's handling was typical of a car from the era, light and easy to maneuver, but not particularly refined. The car's modest size made it suitable for city driving, but its lightweight construction and small engine made it feel flimsy at times. When fully loaded with passengers and cargo, the car struggled to perform, highlighting its underwhelming power. The car's suspension wasn't built for anything more than smooth roads, so driving on rougher terrain or at high speeds could be an uncomfortable experience, especially for passengers in the rear. Despite its shortcomings, the Traveler did have a place in the hearts of many buyers. Its quirky charm, coupled with its functional design as a station wagon, made it a practical choice for families or small business owners who needed a little extra space for cargo. The back of the car had a surprising amount of room, and its flat folding rear seats made it versatile for carrying goods. It was the kind of car that could haul groceries during the week and take the family on a weekend getaway, albeit at a leisurely pace. Its affordability was also a selling point, as it was one of the more reasonably priced cars on the market. In retrospect, the Morris Minor Traveler's appeal lay less in its practicality and more in its character. It was the kind of car that, despite its flaws, endeared itself to owners who valued its old-fashioned charm and simplicity. But as the years passed and automotive technology progressed, the Traveler's shortcomings became more pronounced. Its wooden frame, which once seemed like a quaint nod to the past, became a liability in terms of durability and upkeep. Its engine, which may have been sufficient in the 1940s, was laughably inadequate by the time the 1960s rolled around. For many owners, the car's charm was worth the trouble. For others, especially those who lived in wet or humid climates, Where wood rot was a serious concern, the Traveler became more of a headache than a joy to own. Today, the Morris Minor Traveler is remembered fondly by enthusiasts who appreciate its unique place in automotive history. It has a certain collector's appeal, but as a practical, long-term vehicle, it struggled to meet the demands of the modern world, even when it was new. The Ford Anglia 100E was the epitome of basic post-war British motoring, small, affordable, and straightforward. Introduced in 1953, it was designed to appeal to the working-class family looking for a reliable, low-cost car to get them from point A to point B. While the Anglia 100E achieved these goals, it was far from exciting. With its outdated side-valve engine and modest performance, the car struggled to keep pace with the changing automotive landscape, which was quickly leaving behind such basic, underpowered machines. The engine was one of the major points of contention with the Anglia 100E. Ford stuck with the tried-and-true, yet woefully outdated, 1.2-liter side-valve engine. This engine, which had roots stretching back to the 1930s, produced a meager 36 horsepower. In an era when automotive innovation was surging, the Anglia's engine felt like a relic from a bygone age. It was slow to accelerate, with a top speed of just over 60 miles per hour, making it feel sluggish on even moderately fast roads. For drivers who were used to the more peppy cars of the mid-1950s, the Anglia felt like it was perpetually stuck in slow motion. On city streets, the Anglia's performance was adequate, just enough to get around town without causing too much frustration. But on the open road or highways, the limitations of its side-valve engine became glaringly obvious. The car struggled to keep up with traffic, particularly on inclines, where the engine's lack of power was especially pronounced. It didn't help that the car's gearbox, a 3-speed manual transmission, was clunky and outdated compared to the more modern 4-speed units available in other cars of the time. Aside from its lackluster performance, the Anglia 100E was also not particularly easy to maintain. The side-valve engine required regular tinkering, and although parts were generally inexpensive, they often needed replacing due to wear and tear. The simplicity of the car made it relatively straightforward for mechanics to work on, but the frequency of repairs made it less appealing for drivers who wanted a hassle-free experience. Compared to some of its more modern competitors, the Anglia felt like a car that required too much attention for too little reward. Styling-wise, the Anglia 100E was as modest as its performance. It had a simple, boxy design, with clean, unremarkable lines that lacked the flair or charm of some of its rivals. While it was undeniably practical, with decent interior space for a car of its size, it didn't turn heads or evoke any real sense of excitement. It was a car designed to be utilitarian, not stylish, and its plain looks reflected that philosophy. The design may have appealed to the no-nonsense buyer who simply wanted a car that worked, but it didn't offer much for those who wanted their car to be an extension of their personality or sense of style. One of the Anglia's redeeming features was its affordability. Ford marketed it as a car for the masses, and its low price made it accessible to many British families during the post-war recovery period. It was a practical choice for first-time car buyers or those who needed a simple vehicle for everyday commuting. Its running costs were relatively low, and it delivered reasonable fuel efficiency for the era. But beyond these pragmatic benefits, there wasn't much about the Anglia 100E that made it memorable. Handling and ride quality were serviceable but uninspired. The suspension was soft enough to absorb some of the bumps on Britain's less-than-perfect roads. But the narrow tires and basic suspension setup didn't lend themselves to dynamic driving. The steering was vague, and the car had a tendency to understeer, especially at higher speeds. Overall, driving the Anglia felt like a chore rather than a pleasure. It was a means of getting from one place to another and little more. In a market that was beginning to see the rise of more sophisticated small cars, such as the Austin A30 and Morris Minor, the Ford Anglia 100E struggled to stand out. These competitors offered more modern engines, better handling, and in some cases, more appealing designs. While the Anglia was cheaper than many of its rivals, it wasn't necessarily better value, as buyers often found themselves paying for repairs and maintenance more frequently than they'd like. In hindsight, the Anglia 100E is a car that represented a transitional moment in British automotive history. It was part of the old guard of cars that were designed during the pre-war and immediate post-war periods, relying on outdated technology and design principles. As the 1950s progressed, however, the automotive industry began to move forward at a much faster pace, leaving cars like the Anglia behind. The rise of more innovative small cars would soon render the Anglia's side valve engine, 3-speed transmission, and boxy styling obsolete. The Hudson Jet was a classic example of a well-intentioned concept that failed in execution. Introduced in 1953, the Jet was designed to be Hudson's entry into the burgeoning compact car market, aiming to compete with more popular models like the Ford Mainline and Chevrolet 150. However, the Jet fell short in several key areas, leading to disappointing sales and ultimately contributing to the downfall of the Hudson Motor Car Company. One of the biggest criticisms of the Hudson Jet was its design. Hudson had built a reputation for its step-down design introduced in the late 1940s, which gave their full-size cars a lower center of gravity and a sleek, streamlined appearance. The Jet, however, abandoned much of this design language. Instead of looking modern and sleek, it came across as awkwardly proportioned and boxy. The short, stubby body, combined with an upright grille and rounded roofline, gave the car an outdated, almost frumpy look, even by the standards of the early 1950s. Where competitors were embracing smooth lines and modern styling, the Jet seemed like a step backward. The car's awkward proportions were due in part to a last-minute decision to scale down a larger design. Initially, Hudson's designers had worked on a more full-size car, but when the company shifted its focus to the compact market, they simply shrunk the existing design instead of starting from scratch. The result was a car that looked unbalanced, with a tall, narrow profile that gave it an ungainly stance. This decision would prove to be a major misstep, as the Jet failed to capture the aesthetic appeal that customers were increasingly demanding. Performance-wise, the Hudson Jet was adequate but uninspiring. It was powered by a 3.3-liter inline-six engine that produced 104 horsepower. While this gave it decent acceleration for a compact car of the time, it wasn't enough to make up for its other shortcomings. The Jet's performance was respectable, but it wasn't enough to outshine competitors that offered similar or better specs at lower prices. The Jet's handling was competent, thanks to Hudson's emphasis on solid engineering. It featured a unibody construction, which helped provide a stable and relatively comfortable ride. The car also had independent front suspension, which was a bit more advanced than some of its rivals. However, the overall driving experience was hampered by the car's awkward proportions, which made it feel top-heavy at times. This wasn't a car that inspired confidence or excitement behind the wheel. It simply got the job done. Another major issue with the Hudson Jet was its pricing. Despite being a compact car, it was priced closer to full-size models from other manufacturers. At a time when price-sensitive buyers were looking for affordable, no-frills cars, the Jet was seen as too expensive for what it offered. Many potential buyers couldn't justify spending more on a compact Hudson when they could get a larger and more powerful Ford or Chevrolet for a similar price. This misalignment between the Jet's market position and its pricing proved to be a fatal flaw in its sales strategy. While Hudson had hoped the Jet would attract budget-conscious families looking for a smaller car, it ended up alienating many of its traditional buyers. The Jet lacked the luxurious feel of Hudson's larger models, yet it was priced too high to be considered a true economy car. As a result, it ended up in a kind of no-man's land in the marketplace, neither luxurious enough for its price point, nor affordable enough to appeal to budget buyers. The timing of the Hudson Jet's release also worked against it. By the early 1950s, the American auto industry was rapidly consolidating, and Hudson, as an independent automaker, was already struggling to keep up with the big three: Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. The Jet was supposed to help Hudson gain a foothold in the compact car market, but its failure only accelerated the company's decline. Hudson's financial troubles would eventually lead to its merger with Nash Kelvinator in 1954 to form American Motors Corporation, AMC. In hindsight, The Hudson Jet stands as a symbol of missed opportunity. The concept of a compact car was sound, and had Hudson executed the design and pricing strategy more effectively, it might have succeeded in carving out a niche for itself. Instead, the Jet was burdened by a combination of poor styling, awkward proportions, and an ill-conceived pricing strategy. It never resonated with the car-buying public, and its lackluster sales only hastened Hudson's demise as an independent automaker. Today, the Hudson Jet is mostly remembered as a footnote in automotive history, a cautionary tale of how a promising idea can falter in execution. While it had some positive attributes, such as decent handling and a solid build, the Jet's overall package fell far short of what was needed to compete in the fiercely competitive car market of the 1950s. The Googa Dart, a captivating artifact from a time when the world was entranced by the charm of microcars, and the open road symbolized not just transportation, but adventure and freedom. Picture the scene, the late 1950s, a golden age of optimism and innovation, when post-war Europe was buzzing with creativity and the streets were alive with an eclectic mix of vehicles, each with its own unique story to tell. Among them was the Dart, a delightful little creation that dared to be different in a landscape filled with more conventional cars. Manufactured by the German company Googa Mobile, the Dart emerged in an era when larger, heavier vehicles were the norm. With its whimsical design and compact size, the Dart was a breath of fresh air. Its sleek, rounded contours, resembling a pebble smoothed by the waves, seemed to beckon drivers and passengers alike to embark on spontaneous adventures. The bright colors, often cheerful yellows, bold reds, and vibrant blues, made it a beacon of joy, turning heads and inviting smiles wherever it rolled. But let's not get lost solely in the aesthetics. The Dart was an embodiment of a specific kind of spirit that was prevalent in the 1950s. It was a time when the automobile represented more than just a means of transportation. It was a lifestyle choice, a symbol of personal freedom, and an expression of individuality. The Dart appealed to the dreamers, the adventurers, the nonconformists who wanted something more than the mainstream. Its quirky nature made it perfect for the carefree youth of the era, who yearned for a vehicle that could match their vibrant lives. However, like many dreamers, the Dart was not without its flaws. Under the charming exterior lay a mere 700cc two-stroke engine, struggling to deliver just 25 horsepower. For many, this was a point of contention. The dream of racing down the highway in a tiny sports car quickly turned into a reality of putting along at a modest pace. With a top speed of around 65 miles per hour, the Dart was less a race car and more a car for leisurely drives through scenic landscapes, where the journey mattered more than the destination. One could imagine couples sharing a picnic by the roadside, or families exploring the countryside, laughing as they took in the sights. The Dart parked nearby, a colorful companion to their adventures. But perhaps the most significant aspect of the Dart was its lightness, both in weight and spirit. While this made it a breeze to handle and maneuver through crowded streets, it also rendered the Dart vulnerable on the open road. Safety concerns loomed large. The lightweight fiberglass body, while innovative, provided little protection in the event of a collision. Many potential buyers were hesitant, as the car felt more like a fragile toy than a serious vehicle capable of facing the unpredictable challenges of driving. The irony, of course, was that while it was designed for fun, it often became a source of anxiety for parents worried about their children driving such a delicate machine. As we reflect on the Googa Dart today, we are reminded of the power of nostalgia, the allure of a simpler time when cars were not merely machines, but extensions of ourselves, filled with personality and charm. It invites us to reminisce about the days when automotive innovation was as much about imagination as it was about practicality. The Dart represents an era where the automotive industry was still in the throes of creativity, experimenting with forms, materials, and concepts that would later pave the way for modern vehicles. The Dart has become a beloved collector's item, celebrated not only for its quirky design, but also for the spirit it embodies. It serves as a reminder that not all vehicles need to conform to the standard definitions of speed and power. Sometimes, it's the unique stories and experiences that create lasting memories. Its presence at vintage car shows and classic car events elicits smiles and laughter, and it continues to capture the hearts of those who understand that beauty lies in individuality. In the grand tapestry of automotive history, the Googa Dart is a colorful stitch, an emblem of innovation, creativity, and a spirit of fun that still resonates today. It reminds us that, in a world filled with sameness, there is magic in the unusual, the quirky, and the daring. So, the next time you see a Googa Dart, take a moment to appreciate not just the car itself, but the joy and wonder it represents. A small yet mighty testament to a time when cars were about more than just getting from point A to point B. They were about the joy of the journey itself. The Zunda Janis. What an intriguing little oddity in the automotive world. Picture, if you will, the 1950s, a time when post-war Europe was rife with creativity and experimentation. In the wake of World War II, the automotive industry was undergoing a remarkable transformation. And within this landscape of innovation, the Janis emerged as a standout, albeit for all the wrong reasons. Manufactured by the German company Zunda, the Janis was a microcar that truly embodied the spirit of its era. With its unique design featuring seats facing both forward and backward, it was like nothing else on the road. This unconventional seating arrangement was not merely a whimsical quirk. It was a practical response to the post-war need for economical transportation. However, the reality of riding in a Janis was often more amusing than functional. Passengers in the rear seats could peer at oncoming traffic, leading to an experience that was equal parts entertaining and nerve-wracking. The Janis sported a distinctive, boxy shape that made it resemble a cross between a car and a playful piece of modern art. Its design was characterized by a somewhat bulbous front end, a flat windshield, and a rear that seemed to mimic the front in shape, but left the passengers with a rather unusual view of the world. The car's aesthetic choices were undoubtedly a bold statement, but they also contributed to the Janis's reputation as a novelty rather than a serious contender in the automotive market. Under the hood, the Zunda Janis was equipped with a small, modest engine, typically around 200 cubic centimeters, that produced a mere 10 to 15 horsepower. This power output translated into rather lackluster performance, with top speeds hovering around 50 miles per hour. As a result, driving a Janis felt less like piloting a vehicle and more like slowly rolling along a leisurely Sunday drive. It was a car that encouraged its drivers to embrace a relaxed pace, making it more suitable for city streets than the open highway. However, the peculiar handling of the Janis added another layer of challenge to its driving experience. Its lightweight frame, while beneficial for fuel economy, made it prone to swaying and instability at higher speeds. Navigating corners could be a precarious endeavor, leaving drivers to grapple with the balance between their desire for speed and the Janis's whims. This combination of underpowered performance and awkward handling made it more of a novelty vehicle, perfect for parades or as a quirky addition to car shows, but less so for everyday use. Despite its forward-thinking design and intention to provide affordable transportation, the Janis ultimately faced a significant hurdle in the marketplace. Buyers were drawn to its eccentricity, but they were also hesitant to embrace such an unusual concept as a practical vehicle. As a result, production numbers remained low, and the Janis never truly gained traction in the automotive landscape. Only about 6,000 units were produced before the model was discontinued in the early 1960s, marking it as a commercial failure in the annals of automotive history. Yet the legacy of the Zunda Janis endures. It stands as a testament to a time when cars were often seen as extensions of personality, where experimentation was celebrated, and where a vehicle could embody a playful spirit. Today, the Janis has become a beloved curiosity among collectors and enthusiasts, cherished for its quirkiness and nostalgic charm. It serves as a reminder that not all vehicles need to fit a traditional mold. Sometimes it's the unique designs that leave a lasting impression. In contemporary discussions about automotive innovation, the Zunda Janis holds a special place. It encapsulates the essence of creativity and the willingness to challenge conventions, a spirit that resonates with today's push for sustainable and unconventional vehicles. As we navigate an era of electric cars and autonomous driving, the Janis invites us to remember the joy of automotive design that embraces the unexpected. So the next time you encounter a Zunda Janis, take a moment to appreciate its quirky character and the bold spirit it represents. It may not have found commercial success, but its story is a delightful chapter in the rich tapestry of automotive history, reminding us that sometimes the most unusual vehicles can capture our imaginations in ways that the most conventional ones never could. The Kaiser Henry J, a name that echoes through the annals of automotive history as a symbol of ambition met with harsh reality. Launched in 1950 by the Kaiser Frazer Corporation, the Henry J was envisioned as an affordable compact car that could cater to a growing post-war American market eager for economical transportation. Unfortunately, despite its well-intentioned design and pricing strategy, the Henry J quickly became synonymous with disappointment, both for consumers and the company itself. At its core, the Kaiser Henry J was an ambitious attempt to fill a niche that was rapidly expanding during the early 1950s. The post-war era saw a surge in demand for smaller, more economical vehicles, as returning veterans and young families sought reliable transportation that wouldn't break the bank. The Henry J was priced attractively, making it accessible to a wide range of consumers. However, this initial appeal was quickly overshadowed by a series of critical flaws that would ultimately hinder its success. One of the most significant drawbacks of the Henry J was its lack of trunk space. Compact cars are often praised for their efficiency and practicality, but the Henry J's design fell short in this area. Its trunk was disappointingly small, limiting its functionality for families and individuals alike. This issue was exacerbated by the car's simplistic design, which prioritized cost-cutting measures over user-friendly features. As a result, potential buyers found it difficult to envision the Henry J as a practical solution for their everyday needs. Moreover, the build quality of the Henry J was a significant concern. Designed as a low-cost vehicle, many components were manufactured with a focus on minimizing expenses rather than ensuring durability. Reports of poor fit and finish plagued the model, leading to a perception of cheapness that alienated consumers. In a market where reliability and quality were becoming increasingly important, the Henry J struggled to compete with more established brands that were known for their craftsmanship and durability. The aesthetic appeal of the Kaiser Henry J also left much to be desired. Its design was often criticized as bland and unattractive, with a boxy shape that failed to capture the excitement and flair of the era. While some compact cars of the time, like the Volkswagen Beetle, boasted distinctive and endearing designs, the Henry J was forgettable at best. This lack of visual appeal further hindered its ability to draw in consumers who were looking for something stylish and modern. Despite these shortcomings, Kaiser Frazer initially hoped that the Henry J would find a foothold in the market. However, as sales figures continued to lag, it became clear that the model was failing to resonate with buyers. Compounding this issue, the company faced fierce competition from other automakers who were quickly adapting to the changing demands of the automotive landscape. Brands like Ford and Chevrolet were rolling out compact offerings that combined style, practicality, and reliability, qualities that the Henry J struggled to embody. Ultimately, the failure of the Kaiser Henry J marked a turning point for the Kaiser Frazer Corporation. Unable to recover from the lackluster sales and negative reputation associated with the Henry J, the company's financial situation worsened. By 1954, Kaiser Frazer ceased production, and the brand faded into obscurity. The legacy of the Henry J, however, endures as a cautionary tale of how even the most well-meaning automotive ventures can falter in the face of consumer expectations and market realities. In retrospect, the Kaiser Henry J serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by automakers during a transformative period in automotive history. The early 1950s were marked by innovation and change, as manufacturers grappled with new consumer demands in the wake of the war. The Henry J, despite its potential, was a stark illustration of how critical it is for a car to meet not only the functional needs of its drivers, but also their emotional and aesthetic desires. Today, the Kaiser Henry J is often remembered by automotive enthusiasts and collectors as a quirky footnote in history. While it may not have achieved the success its creators envisioned, its story contributes to the rich tapestry of automotive evolution. The lessons learned from the Henry J continue to resonate in the industry, reminding us that a vehicle's success hinges on a delicate balance of design, functionality, and market understanding. As we reflect on the Kaiser Henry J, it invites us to appreciate the complexity of automotive development and the ever-changing landscape of consumer preferences. It stands as a testament to the resilience of the industry, where even failures can inspire future innovations and drive the evolution of vehicles that better meet the needs of drivers today. The Edsel Corsair, an emblematic reminder of ambition gone awry in the annals of automotive history. Introduced in 1958 as part of Ford's ambitious foray into the mid-priced car market, the Edsel Corsair was meant to be a symbol of innovation and luxury. Unfortunately, it quickly became a case study in misjudgment, earning its place as one of the most infamous failures in the automotive world. From the outset, the Edsel brand was infused with grand aspirations. Named after Henry Ford's son, Edsel Ford, the brand aimed to capture a segment of the market that was yearning for something fresh and exciting. Ford invested heavily in marketing and development, positioning Edsel as a car that would embody cutting-edge design, technology, and luxury. The Corsair, one of the flagship models of the Edsel lineup, was to be the crown jewel, showcasing what Ford believed was the future of American automobiles. However, the initial reception of the Edsel Corsair was less than favorable, and the reasons were manifold. At the heart of the criticism was its strikingly unusual design, which featured what has come to be known as the horse collar grille. This polarizing front-end treatment drew sharp criticism from consumers and critics alike, who found it both bizarre and unattractive. Rather than creating a distinctive identity, the styling choices seemed to alienate potential buyers, leaving many perplexed by the car's aesthetic. Additionally, the Edsel Corsair's high price point contributed significantly to its commercial failure. Positioned as a more upscale vehicle, it came with a premium that many consumers were unwilling to pay. Compounded by the fact that the American economy was beginning to shift during the late 1950s, with rising inflation and economic uncertainty, potential buyers were more cautious about making significant financial commitments. The Corsair's pricing strategy thus worked against it, particularly when competitors offered more appealing options at lower price points. Moreover, the Edsel brand was launched during a tumultuous time in the automotive industry. The late 1950s saw fierce competition as established brands like Chevrolet, Ford, and Chrysler introduced their own mid-range models, often with more traditional styling and better-known reputations. In contrast, the Edsel Corsair's radical design and high price made it difficult to establish a foothold in a crowded marketplace. The lack of a loyal customer base also contributed to its inability to overcome initial skepticism. As the model year progressed, consumer enthusiasm for the Edsel brand waned further. Despite Ford's attempts to create a sense of exclusivity and desirability around the Corsair, it became increasingly evident that the car was not resonating with buyers. Sales figures plummeted, and the Corsair was widely regarded as a commercial flop, leading to widespread criticism and ridicule. The term Edsel itself became synonymous with failure in the automotive industry, and the brand's reputation was irreparably tarnished. In 1959, less than a year after its launch, Ford made the difficult decision to discontinue the Edsel brand altogether, and the Corsair quickly became a symbol of what can go wrong in the world of automotive marketing and design. The collapse of the Edsel division not only resulted in a financial loss for Ford, but also served as a cautionary tale for future car manufacturers about the importance of understanding consumer preferences and market dynamics. Today, the Edsel Corsair is often viewed through a lens of nostalgia and irony. Classic car enthusiasts and collectors regard it as a quirky piece of automotive history, a reminder of a time when bold design choices and marketing ambitions clashed with consumer expectations. The Corsair, along with other Edsel models, has developed a cult following among collectors who appreciate its uniqueness and the story it represents. Ultimately, the Edsel Corsair stands as a testament to the complexities of automotive design and marketing. Its journey from ambitious concept to notorious failure serves as a reminder that the road to success is often fraught with challenges, and that understanding consumer desires is paramount in creating vehicles that resonate with the public. The Corsair's legacy is a multifaceted one, encapsulating both the hopes and missteps of an era when the American automobile industry was striving to redefine itself. It invites us to reflect on how the interplay of design, pricing, and consumer sentiment can shape the fate of even the most well-intentioned automotive ventures. The Renault Doofen is a fascinating chapter in the story of French automakers trying to break into the American market. Launched in 1956, the Doofen was designed to be an economical, small family car that could meet the needs of the growing European market for affordable post-war vehicles. On its home turf, the car was a success. Its compact size, modest price, and simplicity made it a favorite among the French middle class. However, when Renault attempted to introduce the Doofen to the American market, the car's shortcomings became painfully apparent, turning it into a symbol of automotive failure on U.S. soil. At first, the Renault Doofen seemed like it had potential in the United States. Small cars were gaining interest, especially as American families began to consider fuel efficiency and cost. In an era dominated by large gas-guzzling vehicles, the Doofen was pitched as an economical alternative that could help American families save money at the pump. It was lightweight, fuel-efficient, and priced competitively to attract budget-conscious buyers. Its initial reception was somewhat positive, with many drawn to its affordability and compact design. However, the car's novelty quickly wore off as its flaws became more apparent. One of the primary issues with the Doofen was its underpowered engine. The car came equipped with a meager 845 cubic centimeter four-cylinder engine that produced around 32 horsepower. This level of power was more suitable for the narrow streets of post-war European cities, but felt woefully inadequate for American roads, especially when trying to keep up with larger and more powerful vehicles on highways. The Doofen struggled with acceleration and performance, making it less appealing for long-distance driving or any situation that required quick responses. Another glaring problem was the Doofen's handling, particularly at higher speeds. The car had a rear-engine, rear-wheel drive layout, similar to the Volkswagen Beetle, but without the precision or reliability. Its lightweight build and poor weight distribution made it prone to oversteer, especially on wet or slick roads. Combine that with the skinny tires, and drivers found the Doofen difficult to control, even in relatively benign driving conditions. Reports of dangerous handling in sharp turns and at high speeds further dented its reputation, especially in a market where road safety was becoming a growing concern. The build quality of the Doofen also left much to be desired. Though it was praised for being simple and easy to maintain, it quickly developed a reputation for rust problems. The thin metal used in its construction wasn't suited to the harsh American winters, and owners in colder climates soon found that their cars were susceptible to severe corrosion. The Doofen's body panels were notorious for rusting out, and its overall durability paled in comparison to the sturdier American-made cars of the time. This lack of longevity added to the dissatisfaction of American buyers, who had come to expect a certain level of toughness and reliability in their vehicles. The Doofen's reliability issues didn't end with rust either. Mechanical problems plagued the car, from faulty electrical systems to frequent engine breakdowns. These problems compounded the negative perception of the car, as owners found themselves spending more time and money on repairs than they had anticipated. This was especially damaging for a vehicle that was marketed as a budget-friendly option. When a car that's supposed to save you money ends up costing more in repairs and upkeep, it's hard to win over the hearts of buyers. Despite these setbacks, Renault continued to push the Doofen in the US market throughout the late 1950s and early 1960s. But the damage to its reputation was too great to overcome. Sales plummeted as word spread about the car's poor performance, rust issues, and reliability problems. The Doofen, which had been a success in Europe, couldn't shake its negative image in the US, where it became emblematic of the failure of small European cars to meet American standards and expectations. In the end, the Renault Doofen serves as a cautionary tale for automakers attempting to cross markets without fully understanding the needs and preferences of different regions. While it thrived in Europe as an affordable and efficient mode of transportation, the Doofen's lightweight build, underpowered engine, and poor handling were out of step with what American consumers wanted. It's often lumped together with other automotive failures of the time, such as the Ford Edsel and the Chevrolet Corvair, though the Doofen's missteps were more about an inability to adapt to a foreign market than sheer design or engineering errors. The Crosley Hotshot stands as a fascinating yet often overlooked chapter in the narrative of American automotive history. Launched in 1949, the Hotshot was a product of Crosley Motors, a company better known for its radios and household appliances than for automobiles. In the post-World War II landscape, when the American car market was undergoing significant transformation, Crosley aimed to tap into the emerging interest in affordable sports cars. The Hotshot was a bold attempt to create a lightweight, economical vehicle that could capture the hearts of driving enthusiasts without breaking the bank. Visually, the Crosley Hotshot had a certain charm. Its compact two-seater body was characterized by sleek lines and an inviting, sporty design that was appealing to a generation eager for freedom on the open road. The lightweight build was a selling point, with the Hotshot tipping the scales at around 1,000 pounds. This design philosophy was in line with many of the smaller sports cars coming out of Europe at the time, as manufacturers sought to create vehicles that were fun to drive and easy to maneuver. However, this charm was marred by a significant flaw. The Hotshot's performance simply did not match its spirited appearance. Under the hood, the Crosley Hotshot was powered by a diminutive 750 cubic centimeter four-cylinder engine that produced a mere 26 horsepower. This was a significant limitation, as it meant the car struggled to provide the exhilarating performance expected from a sports car. While the engine was designed for fuel efficiency, an appealing factor in a post-war economy, drivers quickly discovered that the lack of power translated into lackluster acceleration and an overall uninspiring driving experience. The Hotshot's lightweight design did help somewhat in terms of handling, but the car's true performance potential remained elusive, leaving many enthusiasts disappointed. Moreover, the Hotshot was plagued by reliability issues that further tarnished its reputation. Early models faced mechanical problems, particularly concerning the engine and transmission. Many owners reported frustrating experiences with starting the car, and overheating became a recurring issue, detracting from the enjoyment of what should have been a spirited drive. These problems made the Hotshot less appealing to consumers who had expected a dependable and engaging sports car experience. Instead, they found themselves grappling with frequent trips to the mechanic, and for many, the promise of a fun and reliable vehicle faded quickly. Crosley's marketing strategy aimed to position the Hotshot as an affordable alternative to more established sports cars like the MG and Triumph. Priced around $1,500, the Hotshot was indeed cheaper than its competition, which could be a strong selling point. However, the perceived value of the car suffered due to its performance issues and overall build quality. As American car buyers began gravitating towards larger, more powerful vehicles in the 1950s, the market for small sports cars shrank, and the Hotshot found itself increasingly marginalized. Despite its shortcomings, the Crosley Hotshot attracted a small but dedicated following among car enthusiasts. Those who appreciated its quirky design and lightweight construction found charm in its uniqueness, and the car developed a cult status in certain circles. Collectors today recognize the Hotshot for its rarity, and it has become a nostalgic symbol of a time when American manufacturers were exploring new automotive possibilities. While it might not have achieved commercial success, its innovative spirit and design philosophy left an indelible mark on the automotive landscape. As the years went by and the Hotshot faded into obscurity, it became a reminder of the ambition and creativity that characterized the automotive industry during a transformative period. It serves as a testament to the fact that even the most well-intentioned designs can falter in the face of market realities, consumer expectations, and the relentless pursuit of performance. Today, the Crosley Hotshot may be remembered more for its quirks than for its capabilities, but it remains a symbol of an era defined by experimentation and exploration in automotive design. In the grand tapestry of automotive history, the Hotshot is a small thread, unassuming yet significant in its contributions to the narrative of American car culture. The Nash Airflight, introduced in the late 1940s, epitomizes the ambitious yet often misguided automotive design efforts of its era. Aimed at projecting a vision of the future, the Airflight was a product of Nash Motors, a company that sought to distinguish itself in a rapidly evolving post-war car market. However, despite its forward-thinking intentions, the Airflight's distinctive bathtub design became one of its most defining and most criticized features. At first glance, the Nash Airflight presents a striking silhouette with its rounded body and bulbous contours meant to evoke a sense of aerodynamic efficiency and modernity. This was a time when many manufacturers were experimenting with new shapes to enhance performance and aesthetic appeal. The Airflight was designed with a streamlined body that, in theory, would cut through the air more efficiently. However, the execution left much to be desired. The design's heftiness and exaggerated curves created a look that many consumers found unwieldy and unappealing. The bathtub moniker was coined to describe the Airflight's rounded, almost cartoonish shape. This analogy perfectly captures the awkwardness that defined the vehicle. Unlike the sleek, stylish designs emerging from competitors like Ford and General Motors, the Airflight appeared bulky and cumbersome, leading potential buyers to view it as a less than desirable option. Consumers at the time were drawn to the idea of sleekness and speed, and the Airflight's shape, which seemed more suited for a whimsical children's toy than a serious automobile, simply did not resonate with the market. Despite the negative reception regarding its design, the Nash Airflight did feature several innovative aspects. It was one of the first cars to utilize a unitary body construction, which offered greater structural integrity and safety compared to traditional body-on-frame designs. Additionally, the Airflight was equipped with a comfortable and spacious interior, emphasizing passenger comfort, an important consideration in an era when road trips and family outings were gaining popularity. However, these advancements were overshadowed by the unappealing exterior that dominated public perception. In an attempt to appeal to a wider audience, Nash implemented some practical features that were ahead of their time. For example, the Airflight included a back seat that could fold down to create additional cargo space, a functional addition that spoke to the needs of families and travelers. Yet, the overall packaging was hampered by the exterior design. Buyers were often left conflicted. The innovative elements inside were undermined by the vehicle's unconventional appearance. The combination of factors led to disappointing sales figures for the Nash Airflight. While Nash had hoped to carve out a niche in the automotive landscape with this bold design, the reality was that most consumers preferred the more traditional styling that was prevalent in the market. The Airflight's awkward aesthetic failed to inspire the sense of modernity and sophistication that its creators had envisioned, and it quickly became a symbol of a miscalculated gamble in automotive design. As the 1950s rolled in, the Airflight and its unique styling were increasingly overshadowed by the burgeoning popularity of cars that embraced sharper lines and sportier looks. The design language of the time evolved rapidly, and the Airflight became a relic of an earlier vision of what the future of transportation could be. While it was an innovative vehicle in many respects, the Nash Airflight ultimately serves as a poignant reminder that even the most ambitious designs can falter when they fail to align with consumer tastes and market trends. In retrospect, the Nash Airflight represents a unique chapter in automotive history, one where ambition clashed with reality. It stands as a testament to the era's experimentation with design and technology, a period marked by a desire to break from tradition and embrace the future. Although it may not have achieved commercial success, the Airflight remains a fascinating case study in the evolution of automotive design, illustrating the delicate balance between innovation and consumer acceptance. The Trabant P50, introduced in 1957, is often remembered as one of the most iconic examples of East German automotive engineering, but for all the wrong reasons. Born out of the economic and political realities of post-World War II Eastern Europe, the Trabant was designed to be an affordable, utilitarian vehicle that could serve the needs of the average citizen in a time when resources were scarce. However, what it delivered was a car that was notoriously basic, perhaps too basic for its own good. At first glance, the Trabant P50 presents a peculiar sight. Its body, made from a material known as Duraplast, a type of reinforced plastic, gave it a unique appearance that set it apart from contemporaries made of steel. While this choice of material was intended to make production cheaper and faster, it also contributed to the car's overall flimsy feel. The Duraplast body was lightweight, but it lacked the durability and rigidity that many drivers expected from a vehicle. In a world where automotive safety was becoming increasingly prioritized, the Trabant's design left much to be desired. Under the hood, the P50 was powered by a diminutive two-stroke engine that churned out a mere 18 horsepower. This pitiful output meant that the Trabant struggled to reach even modest speeds, often leaving drivers feeling vulnerable on faster roads. Acceleration was sluggish, and the car could barely manage to keep up with the flow of traffic, making it a stressful experience for those accustomed to more powerful vehicles. It wasn't uncommon for the P50 to take a torturous amount of time to reach its top speed of about 60 miles per hour, and hills were particularly daunting for this underwhelming engine. Comfort was another area where the Trabant P50 fell short. The interior was Spartan and utilitarian, prioritizing function over any semblance of luxury. Seats were basic, with little padding, and leg room was minimal, making longer journeys uncomfortable at best. The absence of modern conveniences like heating, air conditioning, or even decent sound insulation made for a noisy and unpleasant ride. Drivers often joked that the car was designed for short trips only. Any extended travel was met with groans and complaints from passengers. While the Trabant was built to be cheap and accessible, it became emblematic of the inefficiencies and limitations of the Eastern Bloc's automotive industry. It was not just the car's performance that left much to be desired. It was also its overall design and marketing. The Trabant was often considered a symbol of the stagnation of East German society, a time when consumer choice was limited and quality was sacrificed for production speed and cost. The P50 embodied a car that was functional, yes, but hardly inspiring. Despite its shortcomings, the Trabant did develop a cult following, particularly after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. As East Germans began to open their eyes to the possibilities of the West, the Trabant became a nostalgic symbol of a bygone era, representing both the hardships endured and the unique character of East German life. Car enthusiasts and collectors today often celebrate the Trabant for its quirky nature and its role in automotive history, turning its many flaws into endearing traits. In the broader context of automotive history, the Trabant P50 serves as a fascinating study of how a car can reflect the social and economic conditions of its time. It is a reminder of a period when practicality and affordability took precedence over performance and luxury. While the Trabant may not have been a shining example of engineering excellence, it undoubtedly left an indelible mark on the automotive landscape, and its legacy continues to evoke a sense of nostalgia and curiosity among car enthusiasts and historians alike. The Gaz M20 Pobeda is not just a car, it is a fascinating chapter in the story of Soviet automotive history, symbolizing a complex interplay of aspiration, innovation, and the harsh realities of post-war manufacturing. Launched in 1946, the Pobeda, which translates to victory, aimed to reflect the Soviet Union's triumph over fascism and its ambition to modernize its society. Designed by the Gorky automobile plant, Gazid, The Pobeda was intended to represent a leap forward in automotive engineering, showcasing Soviet ingenuity at a time when the nation was desperately trying to shake off the remnants of wartime deprivation. At first glance, the Pobeda boasted a strikingly modern design that set it apart from the square, utilitarian vehicles that were prevalent during the war years. Its rounded body and smooth lines drew inspiration from contemporary American and European automobiles, reflecting a desire for elegance and sophistication. The car's distinctive grille, teardrop-shaped headlights, and flowing fenders exuded a sense of style that was quite rare for Soviet cars of the time. In many ways, the Pobeda was a symbol of hope and progress, a promise that the Soviet people would have access to modern conveniences and a vehicle that was not just functional, but also visually appealing. However, beneath this attractive exterior lay a range of significant problems that would tarnish the Pobeda's reputation. The heart of the car was a 2.1-liter inline-4 engine, producing a mere 52 horsepower. While this was adequate for basic transportation, it was far from impressive, especially when compared to the more powerful engines found in Western vehicles. Drivers quickly discovered that the Pobeda lacked the responsiveness and acceleration necessary for comfortable driving, particularly in urban settings where quick maneuvers and speed were often required. This underpowered engine resulted in a sluggish driving experience, making the Pobeda feel more like a chore to drive than an enjoyable experience. Reliability was another major concern for Pobeda owners. Although the car was seen as a step towards modernization, it often fell short in terms of durability. Reports of mechanical failures, such as issues with the carburetor, electrical systems, and overheating engines, were common among drivers. The combination of rushed post-war production schedules and a lack of quality control resulted in a car that many found frustrating to own. Regular breakdowns and frequent repairs detracted from the overall experience, and the Pobeda soon gained a reputation for being unreliable. Despite these shortcomings, the Gaz M20 Pobeda played a vital role in Soviet culture and transportation. As one of the first post-war cars available to the public, it represented a shift towards a more consumer-oriented society. Many Soviet citizens viewed the Pobeda as a symbol of personal mobility and a step toward a better life, and it quickly became a common sight on Soviet roads. The vehicle's availability was a significant achievement for a nation still grappling with the scars of war, and it became a source of pride for many who were able to purchase one. The Pobeda's unique features also contributed to its charm. The car offered a spacious interior, which was a considerable advantage for families, and its relatively comfortable ride made it a practical choice for everyday use. The rear bench seat could accommodate several passengers, and the large trunk provided enough space for luggage or groceries. This practicality endeared the Pobeda to many families and made it a popular choice for taxis in urban areas, where its spaciousness was highly valued. As the years passed, however, the flaws of the Pobeda became more apparent, leading to a decline in its reputation. By the late 1950s, as consumer expectations grew and new models began to enter the market, the Pobeda struggled to keep up. The emergence of more reliable and powerful vehicles from both domestic and foreign manufacturers highlighted its shortcomings, and it became increasingly difficult for the Pobeda to maintain its status as a desirable car. The Pobeda's production ran until 1958, during which time approximately 230,000 units were manufactured. While it may not have achieved the level of success that its designers had hoped for, it nonetheless played an essential role in the evolution of Soviet automotive engineering. The experience gained from the Pobeda's production informed future designs and improvements, leading to a new generation of vehicles that were better equipped to meet the needs of Soviet drivers. In retrospect, the Gaz M20 Pobeda is a poignant reminder of a time when the Soviet Union was striving to embrace modernity while grappling with the complexities of its economic and industrial realities. It embodies both the aspirations of a nation and the challenges it faced in fulfilling those dreams.